Good evening, everyone. Tonight, I am your host. Why? Because we have a special guest. Now, we have a guest for tonight's program, Ms. Rebecca Kamara, all the way from Financial Ombudsman, and we'll be looking at how people can make compensation claims against their creditors. People by now will know that when banks give loans, when credit card companies give credit cards, or if you enter into arrangement, buy now, pay later, these businesses are all regulated, and therefore they have a duty of care to their customers. But as a human institution, and what some financiers or academics will call moral hazard or adverse selection, there is always that temptation that these institutions sometimes don't comply with their duty of care to their customers. And therefore, sometimes people are giving huge sums of loans, credit card limits are increased. If you are buying a car, they force you to take a car finance loan. So all these loans, credit cards, eventually people begin to struggle to make payment or to continue the payment. But the fact is that most of these people should be entitled to compensation. So tonight, we'll be looking at how you can make compensation claim. And I want to ask you this question. Did you know that if you are struggling to pay your personal loan, if you are struggling to pay the credit card bill, if you are struggling to pay your car finance, and in fact, some of you who are even homeowners, you might be struggling to pay your mortgage, or some of you, you have had adverse credit report registered on your credit file. But most of you who are in this situation, when your circumstances are examined, you will probably realize that you are entitled to compensation against those people who probably have registered this adverse record against you, or who gave you the loan in the first place without due diligence. So tonight, I want you to join us, me and Rebecca Kamara, to take you through this topic. I want you to invite your friends, your family members, and everyone who cares to join us tonight to learn about their consumer right. This is the consumer law which Citilaw Solicitors brings to you. So without wasting much time, I'm sure my guest is getting ready. She's going to give us all the insight into how people can make these claims. And one thing that is quite clear is we hear from the news that there is galloping inflation. People are struggling to keep up with the payment of their bills. So is it not going to be an opportunity for you to make a successful claim and perhaps get refund for this loan that you have paid for years? Why would you want to make such opportunity? Why would you want to invite a friend to join us tonight? And we are going to open the phone lines for people to phone in so that people can ask questions. So I'm urging you to join us tonight. Invite your friends now, please. If you have joined us on Facebook or YouTube or City Media Radio, you can please share the link. Those of you who are watching us from City Media TV on Facebook, make sure, please, you click on the bell so that each time we come live, you'll be notified. And then share the link so that your friends and family members can also follow us. Tonight's topic is quite interesting. It's distinct. It's one of a kind that you don't have to mix. So please, with a short break, I will introduce my guests, and then we set the ball rolling. Don't go away. Don't go away. Hello, everyone. Miss Camara, welcome.
Hi, everyone.
It's fun to have you in here.
Yeah, it's nice to be back.
I know. Last week you were host.
Yes.
And tonight I'm your guest. Yes. Thank you so much for once again coming to join us. And I'm sure that everyone who is watching tonight is going to benefit immensely from this program, because this is coming from the horse's own mouth. Yes. So it's quite interesting to have you here.
We're going to give you the secrets.
Yes. All the secrets will be exposed tonight. And I'm sure that viewers and listeners, those who are watching from the radio and all that, they are going to benefit so immensely from this. So I'm going to, there are a lot of stuff that people have asked in the past, and we thought it wise that Citilaw Solicitors, we could bring in a specialist who will be able to address some of these things so that they know that this is not just a myth or fiction, that in fact it actually exists, that people can actually make claims and get substantial compensation even after they have taken loans and all that from banks.
Insurance.
So it's good to have you in here.
Yeah.
Okay. So generally, what is banking? When we say banking, what areas are we looking at?
Well, banking is basically your relationship that you have with your bank. So it could be a whole lot of different things. So some people have credit cards, some people have just a debit card. So whatever relationship you have with your bank is what banking is. So there's a lot of things that fall under that category. So you can be talking about your debit card, you can be talking about credit card, you can be talking about overdraft and things like that. Yes. So that's what the banking is. But it's very wide. There are other stuff on the net as well. But most importantly, because I know that most people, when we're talking about our banks, the things that we deal with our banks the most is, your debit card, credit card, and stuff like that. Even though you do have mortgages under that, but we can talk about that later.
Great. We can talk about that later because we have a lot to talk about tonight.
Yes.
So we can talk about that later. Yes.
Yeah.
So you say that even investments are inclusive of all these.
Investment is a different department. So, for example, we have banking and then we have banking and credit. So basically, banking, like I said, is your card, your overdraft and stuff like that. But when it comes to like consumer credit, that's a whole different situation. But then when we are dealing with your mortgages or your investments or your pensions, those are also, they fall under different categories as well. So investment fall under investment and mortgages fall under mortgages and, things like that. Pension fall under pension. So when we're talking about banking, we're talking about just your credit card, your card machines, like things like that. So, but consumer credit is actually really, really wide.
Wow. Very wide. Great. So what about, recently we do hear a lot of fraud cases.
Yes.
Could you enlighten us a bit about these fraud cases?
Yes. So before I do that, let me just quickly talk about the consumer credit. So the consumer credit is really wide. There are a lot of things that falls under that. So talking about your hire purchase, like you're getting your loan for a card, you're talking about your catalog shopping, you're talking about dealing with your credit card and your credit reference agencies and debt collectors, things like that all falls under the consumer credit. So if you are having any issues in that area, it's definitely something that you need to listen to because we're going to talk about that a little bit more. And also fraud cases are mega these days. We hear every day. They're saying fraud cases that obviously we cannot deal with. But if it's a banking case where, for example, somebody takes money out of your account without your knowledge, that's a different situation because your bank is automatically going to refund that. Or if you use your card fraudulently, like let's say if it's a credit card and you use it, the bank is under obligation to pay that money back. But there are some fraud cases that we can definitely not deal with. This is one that has to do with investment, like the cryptocurrencies and stuff like that. So we can also get into that later on as you ask the questions. Don't want to jump into it.
Yes. Yes, that's interesting. It's obvious that there is so much we have to
definitely
discuss tonight. We also hear about payday loans, and most times, somebody might be looking at exporting something to Africa. Sometimes they might need some quick loan, and the banks sometimes are quite difficult in terms of people accessing those loans. So they resort to these payday loans. Do you have anything to say about in terms if things go wrong?
Definitely, because we just came out of the PPI era, the payment protection era, which is no longer available because that era is finished. So now we're coming into a very new era, which is the unaffordable lending. So the payday loan is actually outside of the bank, because it's not usually the banks that give payday loans. So payday loans are the quick loans that you run to the shop, like the ones outside, like just to get a quick loan for a couple of weeks. So you take £100 loan, and then you have to pay like £300 interest. So those are the kind of loans that we were talking about: irresponsible lending and unaffordable lending. It's irresponsible if the businesses didn't check your credit score, if they didn't check if you were working at the time, but they gave it to you anyways, obviously because they want you to be in debt, because they want you to pay that interest. They would check. A lot of businesses would check to see if you actually, have a good credit, and they can see that you don't, but they're still going to give it to you anyways because they want you to pay the interest. So that's the irresponsible lending. And the unaffordable one is when they have checked and they can see that you have 10, 20 payday loans, because some people will go to different lenders and get a payday loan. And so people will take one loan to pay off the other loan, and then they will take one loan to pay off the other loan. And by the time you think about it, they're stuck in debt. So these are also one of the things that we can deal with, because I know that a lot of people go through situations like that. You get this payday loan, just a quick loan, you want to send it to Africa, or you just need it for just for food this week because you're in a bad place financially, and then you quickly run and take that money. It never ends. It never ends. The moment you take money from them, you're stuck in debt.
Great. You're stuck in debt. So people are getting stuck in debt. So when people are stuck in debt, specifically to do with payday loan, because payday loan is a type of loan that is easily accessible. And one wonders, number one, you go to the mainstream banks, the high streets, they have very stringent method of assessing people's credibility. And sometimes those people cannot access those loans in the mainstream banks, and they rather go to these payday loans. So if things goes wrong, what are the remedies? I mean, what can they do if they go and take loan from the payday loan and things go wrong? Is there anything that they can do?
Yes. Well, as much as we would like to blame the businesses that are giving us these loans, sometimes, some people are addicted to these loans. Some people will take loans and then they continue to take it. But what the financial ombudsman will look into is to assess whether or not the business gave you that loan unaffordably, is to see if they check your credit score, if they check if you're working, if you're self-employed, and your financial situation at the time of the loan. But if the financial ombudsman decided that the business didn't take due diligence to look to see if you can actually afford to pay it back, then what you can do is you can bring the complaint to the financial ombudsman. But first, before you do that, you first have to complain to the business to let them know that you cannot afford to pay that money back, that you are having financial difficulties at the time. Some businesses will help you, and they will actually make a payment plan for you so that you can pay, maybe 50, 30, 40 pounds a week, a month or so, just to help you clear that. While some people will pay that money back, some people will not. So basically, the bank will allow you, the business will allow you to pay a certain amount, but some people don't stick to that plan. So when they don't stick to that plan, the business can decide whether or not to have any businesses with them anymore. So basically what they will do is either they will sell the loan to one of these debt collectors, and then they start chasing for the loan. So if the loan is being sold out to the debt collectors, it's no longer under the business. So you can no longer contact them about the loan. Now you have to speak to a debt collectors. But the thing is, you never want it to get to that point, because once a loan gets to a debt collectors, they are going to add their own fees on top of it. And once they add their own fees on top of it, it's just going to skyrocket. And so you don't want it to get to that point. And basically what would happen at that point is that they would add that into your credit score, and then it will mess up everything for you. So basically the best thing you can do is either try to pay, and if you can't pay, you can approach the financial ombudsman and let them know that you cannot pay because it was taken at a time where you couldn't even afford it. So you can blame the business for it, but of course we are going to do the investigation to make sure that we are not just giving you money back that you actually took intentionally.
Great, that's interesting. So it means that obviously when people are in debt, they face all these kinds of questions. So if these things go wrong, if they are dealing with, for example, a bank, they are dealing with an insurance company or mortgage company, and things go wrong, is there any specific institution, for example, they could not afford the loan if they've done proper assessment, and they still had this loan anyway, because sometimes we receive calls, or especially when you check your credit rating and it's quite good, and you get these letters from the post, credit card companies sending you letters in the post, encouraging you to apply for credit cards, and sometimes even to increase your credit limit. So if things go wrong, for example, you're unable to pay, you feel that the bank probably didn't do their due diligence, because if they did, probably they wouldn't have increased your credit limit, or they wouldn't have given you the loan, or even the car finance or hire purchase. Who do you complain to?
So basically, if you are dealing with insurance companies, it's quite wide. So you are talking about pet insurance, you're talking about gadget insurance, you're talking about, different kinds of insurances. So with the insurance, it's not a loan, because, even though it's a loan agreement, but it's still not a loan, because you are paying off for them to, secure it. Sometimes if you, let's say you lied on your application form, and then it's time for you to claim, the insurance company have the right to not allow you to claim on that agreement because you've lied about something, whether or not you've had a conviction before, or motor conviction before, and you did not disclose that. So not disclosing certain things with the insurance company, especially when you're getting a car insurance, or even if it's a health insurance, not disclosing a certain pre-existing illness could cause you to not get your claim back. So things like that. So like, for example, your mortgage companies, sometimes you fall back on your mortgage, maybe you're going through financial difficulties, you're not really, in a place to pay your mortgage back. The first thing you should do is to first approach the mortgage companies, to first approach the bank, the business, whichever relationship you have, approach them and let them know your situation. And if they refuse to help you, and you just keep digging yourself more and more in loans, in debts, then you can approach the financial ombudsman. The financial ombudsman is an impartial service. So basically, it doesn't have anything to do with any of the banks and any of the businesses. They are just a regulatory business. So basically what they do, they work for the government, which means that they regulate every financial business. So if a business is regulated under the Financial Conduct Authority, then it's something that you can definitely bring to the financial ombudsman. But unfortunately, that's not all businesses that are covered by the Financial Ombudsman Service, because they are not regulated by the FCA. So if a business is not regulated by the FCA, we probably wouldn't deal with it. But there are different other kinds of ombudsmen that you might deal with. So if you're talking about council tax and things like that, parking, then you can deal with the housing ombudsman. There are different kind of ombudsmen. So depending on the situation that you're going through at the time, so that you have to complain with. But before you approach the ombudsman, like I said before, make sure you have first spoken to the business and tell them your situation.
So you just have to make sure that you've spoken to the business, so that they can have the first opportunity.
Yes, to put things right for you.
Put things right for you.
The business has 8 weeks to put things right for you. So if you, they will let you know on their final response letter. They will let you know they have to give you, the business is obligated to give you a referral right. They will refer you to the financial ombudsman. So they have to let you know that we are not going to deal with the situation. You have the rights to take it to the financial ombudsman. And, You have 8 weeks from when you receive the final response letter. 8 weeks. After that 8 weeks, you don't complain to the Financial Ombudsman Service. We have the right to kick your case outside, and the business has the right to decide not to look into your case. So make sure you read the letters that you're getting from the business properly, that it's not a final response letter, because if the final response letter is outside of the 8 weeks, we can kick that out as well.
So it means that they have the 8 weeks. Is it for the complaints to the Financial Ombudsman, or they have to wait 8 weeks after they have complained to the business that they feel that they have complaints against?
After they've complained to the business, they have 8 weeks to allow the business to investigate. Okay. And if after that 8 weeks they don't bring that case to the Financial Ombudsman, we might not look into it. So actually, no, they have 8 weeks to investigate, and then they have 6 months. Okay. So after that 6 months rule, it's called the 6 months rule. Outside of the 6 months after you receive the the final response letter, you may not be able to claim.
Okay, so it means that if, for example, I felt that my bank or my credit card company has flouted a rule, or they have treated me in a way that perhaps gives me cause to complain about their service, then in that case, when I complain, they have 8 weeks to look into my complaint, and then
issue a final response letter.
Issue a final response letter. And then after they have issued my final response letter,
you have 6 months to bring the complaint to us.
To bring the complaint.
Yes.
Okay. So if I don't bring my complaint, then it means that after 6 months,
we might not be able to look into that case, because then the business has the right to not look into that case. So we can force them to do it because they have given you the warning before. Yeah. So there's certain things that we cannot force them to do. For example, if it's a fraud case, we cannot force the business to investigate it as quickly as we want them to do, because a fraud case is very difficult to investigate. So we have to let it run its course.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, viewers, it means that when people have made complaint, they have to. So in this case, when the bank, because I know that most of these cases will end up at the Financial Ombudsman anyway, it means that when the bank has addressed their complaints, whether satisfactory or not, then they have 6 months to make further complaint to the Financial Ombudsman. Okay.
Yeah.
And they fail to do that, that means that the deadline has
they passed the deadline.
Has passed, yes.
There are some other there are two kind of deadlines that we have. We have the 3 and 6 rules. There are some complaints that you can bring after 3 years or 6 years, but that's like very complex ones.
Okay.
Yeah, but if it's like just regular banking stuff like that, then 6 months.
6 months.
Yeah.
Okay. Because once you start your complaint, then it's expected.
The thing is, sometimes somebody will start a complaint and then forget about it for a minute. Sometimes we receive the complaint form and then we'll send you a letter saying, can you send us the final response letter? And some people forget about it. So they won't respond for like 6, 7, 8 months, 1 year. It doesn't matter, as long as you have complained to us, even if it's a year after, we still have to pick it up because you've complained already. So it then doesn't fall inside of the 6 months because you've complained already.
So once you get your feet in the door,
you can come back and
remain in the rank.
But just don't leave it for more than 3 years, because if you leave it for more than 3 years, then it's also statutory right.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So once you have your feet in the door, then
that's it.
You're ready to fight in the ring.
Definitely.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So, debt collectors. Sometimes you'll be sleeping and then you hear the door knocking and your heart just jump into your mouth. Do you have anything to say about them in terms of...
Yes.
Because sometimes I feel that there is something that... sometimes I feel that there's certain things that they do that might not be right in the way they treat consumers. And all that. But I'm not sure what...
Well, you need to be very careful, because the thing with the debt collectors is you need to realize there are 2 types. There's the enforcement officers and there are debt collectors. So the enforcement officers are the ones that are sent by the courts. If they're sent by the courts, there's nothing we can do about it. We don't deal with cases that has been dealt with by the courts. So if, for example, let's say you had a complaint with your mortgage lender, and you guys have taken it to court and the court has made a decision on it, we cannot look into it, because the courts are above the financial ombudsman. Whatever decision they make stands. So there is no way we can overturn that. So if you've dealt with a complaint through the court, we can't deal with it. So if it's a enforcement agent that is chasing you for their money, you probably have to give that, or else you're going to get a CCJ on your credit score. But if it's just a debt collectors, like let's say Barclays sold your debts to debt collectors, those ones can be dealt with, especially if they are harassing you. Harassment, and it's making you go through depression and all that kind of stuff. You can raise that, because they're not supposed to harass you to the point of depression. So that could be an issue. So if they're harassing you too much, sending you letters, calling your jobs and all that stuff, then you have a problem. You can bring that to the financial ombudsman. If they're sending letters to your house that are not for you, because sometimes, let's say the person that used to live in your house previously, they no longer live there, but the letters are coming to your house and they're chasing them for a debt. You can let them know that that person no longer lives here, and so like the debt shouldn't go into your house. Because the thing is, if you bought the house and that debt is on your in that address, it could actually cause you to lose on getting credit, because the address is registered to that debt.
Yeah.
So what you need to do is need to let them know that that person no longer lives there, so they can remove it from your house. And sometimes, it's not just that. Sometimes the debt that you owe is statute bad, which means it's outside of the 6 years. So if you've had that debt for more than 6 years and they've been chasing you for more than 6 years, after the 6 years, they are no longer required by law to chase you. It's outside of the 6 years. So it's statute bad, which means that they shouldn't. But sometimes they will still try.
Yes,
because obviously you don't know that. So
sometimes they will still try.
Yeah, they will still try, because they know that you don't know a lot of things.
Yes.
You're not really. So you'll be afraid because you're getting that. And then they will make sure they put that on your credit score.
I know.
And if it's on your credit score and it's statute bad, instead of contacting the debt collectors, you can contact your credit reference agency and let them know that the debt is statute bad. And even after you let them know that the debt is statute bad, but it still stays there, then you can complain about the credit reference agency themselves for not removing it. Yeah, because sometimes you've paid a debt already, but it still stays on your credit score, and that can cause you from not getting loans. Even the telephone you can't get. Do you know what I mean? Like the littlest thing, you can't get it, even though you've paid for it. So if that's the case and you're struggling with that, you also need to complain about those credit reference agency, like how do you call it? Experience, things like that. Yeah.
Yes. We'll come there. We'll ask for that question. This statutory part is quite interesting. I remember, I think about 3-4 years ago, a family friend of mine, he had a couple of debts, and then he entered into this debts change or whatever.
Yeah.
And then one of the debt collectors started writing to her and eventually filed a claim in the county court to pursue the debt, which is more than 6 years. So she gave me the stuff. I went through it, and I noticed that this stuff is more, talking about 8 years now. Where are you coming from?
Yeah.
And then I put the response of, normally the county court will give you opportunity to respond.
Yeah.
And then eventually they just withdrew the case.
Yeah.
That was the end of the matter. Yes, so what you're saying is true. Debt collectors still follow people even when they are not entitled.
Yeah, even after. Yeah, they're not entitled to do it. Because you need to remember that they have bought the debt. They own it now.
Yeah.
So let's say, for example, you owe Barclays, like, let's say £5,000.
Yeah.
And so Barclays will sell that debt to them. They will buy it from Barclays.
Yes.
For, like, let's say £1,000.
Yeah.
And so if they buy that debt from Barclays for £1,000, then they are going to come to you and claim £6,000.
Yeah.
So basically they're getting double. So what they do is they will harass you, even if it's outside of the statute bar. They want that money because it's going to profit them. Yeah. Because Barclays only sold it to them for £1,000, and you're giving them back $6,000 plus interest. Yeah. So that's why they're very adamant. Because they're getting money out of it.
They try as much as possible to get as much as they can from the consumers or the debtors.
Yes, they will stress you.
That's where they make their profit. Interesting.
Yeah. And you also need to remember, let's say if you were, let's say you get a hire purchase. A hire purchase can be a bit complicated because you don't know who to complain to. Because let's say you get from the let's say you get a used car from the garage, right?
Yeah.
And then then the car broke down. You're like, that happened to me before. I got a car, and in less than 6 months, the car broke down.
Yeah.
And so you complain to the garage where you got the car from. They can't deal with your case. They cannot deal with it. So basically, if you get a hire purchase, you have to approach the finance company. So the people that gave you the loan are the ones that are responsible for the broken car that was given to you by the garage.
That's right.
But if you want to, if you don't have any problem with the finance company because they're being okay, and you have a problem with the garage, then you have to go to the motors ombudsman. Because the motors also have ombudsman.
Ombudsman that can also deal with it.
Yeah.
Tonight we are learning a lot about consumer law.
Yeah.
We are actually learning a lot. Well, this credit referencing agencies, they control a lot of powers, and they've sometimes, out of the fact that there are certain adverse records recorded on people's credit file. Some people, they get to the end of their mortgage. When they get to the point where they are supposed to get a mortgage, they've gone through all the checks, and eventually something just pops up on the credit file. And then they are just disqualified straight away. Sometimes these records held on their files, some of them are wrong.
Yes.
Is the financial ombudsman able to step in if, for example, these records are wrong and has caused that person undue hardship in terms of not being able to get mortgage?
So basically, if you've noticed that there's a discrepancy on your credit score, and you have contacted the trade union, and you've also contacted the credit reference agency to let them know that you have paid it and you've given them the proof of it, but they still leave it there, then you can contact the financial ombudsman. So basically, one thing you need to remember is most of these businesses don't want to come to the financial ombudsman. Although it may be free for the consumer, it's not free for the businesses. So the consumer may come with your complaints for free, but the businesses have to pay. So basically, if you tell them that, okay, well, if you're not going to deal with my complaint, I'm going to take this up with the financial ombudsman. Can you please give me a final response letter? Most of the time, they try to sort the situation out before it gets to the financial ombudsman. Because once the case comes to us, we are now going to contact them. If they haven't issued a final response letter, we are going to contact them to say, hey, we need a final response letter from you. The consumer has complained. And so if they do issue the final response letter, it's going to give us the go-ahead to take it to the next level. So then we will convert the case. Once the case is converted, the business has to pay £500, and they don't want to pay that. So,
so the business pays for your service. It pays for dealing with the complaint.
Yes.
So that's why most time when you threaten them that you're going to financial ombudsman,
they will deal with it straight away.
Deal with the case straight away.
Yeah,
because
so that's
whether or not they lose or they win, they're still going to pay for that.
Yes, as long as the case is converted, they pay for it.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, that's a lot for these people, these banks and these financial institutions to deal with. Credit brokers, are they also regulated?
They're also regulated under the Consumer Credit Act.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
they're like the in-between man.
Okay, they're like the
in-between.
Anything to say to viewers who perhaps might have dealt with these credit brokers, and if things go wrong, what can they do?
Sometimes it's very difficult to distinguish between whether it's the creditor or the credit broker that you have to bring the complaints to. But whether or not it's them or the creditor, you can still bring the complaints to us. Because if you're dealing with somebody who's they're mostly like a middleman anyways. So then you can always go straight to them because they're also regulated. Because sometimes it's not the financial company that deal with it. Sometimes just the credit broker right in the middle, taking their own commissions and stuff like that. So yeah, you can also bring a complaint to the ombudsman for them as well.
Okay.
And you're going to talk about the investments, cryptocurrencies and stuff like that.
Thank you for reminding me.
Yes.
A lot people claim that you can make a lot of money from this institution. So I know that the mainstream banks, if you invest funds there and things go wrong, sometimes there is even a compensation fund that can be accessible if things go wrong or if the institution collapses. this cryptocurrency going around, people sometimes claim that they've been making a lot of profit by investing in it. Are they regulated? Is it an regulated use?
One thing you need to remember is with this cryptocurrency is hit and miss. It's hit and miss. If you have a credit card and under Section 75 of the the Section 75 of the Credit Act, the bank owes you liability if you use your credit card to pay for anything. They will give it back to you. Sometimes, even if you're doing this kind of investment, if you're doing with your credit card, you might get your money back. But one thing that you need to remember is cryptocurrencies, Bitcoins are not regulated products. Sometimes the business itself may be regulated, but the product is not. So if the business is, let's say Barclays is regulated, but the cryptocurrency is not at the moment. So as long as it's not regulated, you cannot bring a complaint to us about it because it's outside of our jurisdiction. If it's outside of our jurisdiction, we cannot deal with those kind of complaints. So I see a lot. This is the reason why if you go on social media, you see a lot of people sending you, emails and, DMing you about investing. Because once you do invest, you can invest 1,000, 2,000. Some people invest so much. And as soon as your money disappears in that, it's gone. There's nothing we can do to recover that money for you. So be careful who you invest with. Some people are legit and some people are not. Some people are just there just to take your money. Wow, so be very, very, very careful. As you see cryptocurrency run, unless you know that, they're very truthful.
Okay, so they are not regulated. So
they're not regulated.
If things go wrong, they can't complain to
No, there's nothing we can do. As soon as we see cryptocurrency, we say, it's not something
that's not something that you can deal with.
Not at all.
Wow,
not at all.
That's quite interesting.
Not at all.
What about catalog shopping?
Catalog shopping are the worst, actually. I had that. So anyways, I know. And so, this catalog shopping, this is like Little Woods and, Shop Direct, those things like that, where you would take stuff and then, pay it by installments and stuff like that. And sometimes, it's buy now, pay later, things like that. It's very good in the moment. Because I remember I did that when I first got my house like 10 years ago. I got one of those. I think I had Little Woods and I took about £600. And I had to pay 1,600 back. Oh. And that was just interest. Yeah. Interest on top of, I only took £600. I paid double, triple what I owed them. So you need to be very careful with that. But at the same time, those are something that you can also approach the financial ombudsman about because they're also covered. It's a regulated product. So you can definitely bring that on. And it's a lot. People are complaining about those all the time, very often.
So it means that if, for example, I did catalog shopping and I'm unable to pay just because it was so easy for the goods to be dumped on me, then of course...
that can also be considered as irresponsible
lending.
Yeah. Or unaffordable, actually.
Or unaffordable.
Yeah.
Well, viewers, it means that if for whatever reason you took a lot of sofa from the shop and you took all these television sets from the shop, and for whatever reason you are unable to pay, that means you can complain and say that, listen, you shouldn't have given me this because you knew I couldn't have afforded this.
There was this old furniture shop that used to give people, trade, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't think it's trading anymore. That people used to owe that business. I forgot the name. I remember that. I remember all my African aunties and uncles used to take credit from that place, but they no longer trade because obviously, a lot of people complaining about them.
When people complain about them,
the more you complain about them, the more you take them out of business because then they can't pay compensation.
They can't pay compensation.
Yes.
I'm aware of one of these Payday Loans. I said one or whatever.
A lot of them have gone out of business.
Has gone out of business
because by the time people complain about them and the money that they have to pay, they can't take it, so they have to dissolve the business. Yeah.
But with all this going on, there are still a lot of people out there who don't even know that they can.
And they will still fall into the trap.
Yes.
Yeah, they will still fall into the trap.
And they don't know that they can make claims against these companies for this.
The financial ombudsman is impartial, even though people wouldn't think that. They will think because it's government. But the thing is, we don't have nothing to do with financial businesses. So
So you just have to look at the facts and then look at whether they have complied with the rules or not. And if they haven't, that means that person should be...
Decisions are made based on, the rules.
And the evidence.
Yeah, so we go through the laws, that is binding into that particular thing before we can make decisions. We don't just make decisions based on emotions. So we have to make sure we've checked all the the laws that covers that particular business, and if the business has complied to the laws. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, viewers, this is an opportunity for all of us to learn.
Stay away.
We've
from
talked about
like that.
We've talked about so many things today, and we still have a lot to talk about. What I've learned today, and I'm sure most of you might also have learned tonight, is the fact that most these businesses, these financial institutions, payday loans, banks, hire purchase companies, catalog shopping, all of them are regulated.
Yes.
And if they don't comply with their own rules, then you or me can be entitled to compensation.
Yes. But make sure before you get into any relationship or business with any business, make sure they're regulated. Because if a business is not regulated, there's nothing we can do about it.
Can you explain how can people be aware and know whether this business is regulated or not?
Well, if you look at any contract that you are signing, it would say that it is covered or regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. Or if you go to their website, go to the all the way down on the page, and on the bottom of the screen, it should let you know that this business is regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. If it doesn't say that the business is not covered by the Financial Conduct Authority in their first page, try to go into their policy page. If you go into the policy page, it might tell you that they're covered, because sometimes they hide it. Sometimes you just go and find it to see go to the policy and see if they're covered by the Financial Conduct Authority. If not, don't go into business with them, because most of the time we can't even look at it. But there are the businesses that might cover them. Like I said, there are other ombudsmen, so it might fall into one of those.
There is this new institution called Karma.
Oh yeah.
Are they regulated?
Yeah, the buy now, pay later, pay in 3 installments. You see this new thing in a lot of online shopping nowadays. So if you go to let's say you want a clothes shop, like you go to Zara or H&M or things like that, it will encourage you to buy now and pay later. But the dangers with this thing is that it goes to your credit score. And so let's say you get something for £30, and instead of paying £30 now, you decide to pay later in 3 installments. When they are doing a credit check on you, it shows that instead of paying £30, you've split it into 3, which means you cannot afford £30. And that could reflect negatively on your credit score. So you have to be very careful with those, because they can mess up your credit score big time. Because if a lender can see that you are splitting £30 into 3, it means you can afford to pay £30. So that could cause you to not get any loans. And they're definitely regulated.
Wow.
Because even though it's CalNA or whatever they call it, but they're usually owned by banks. Sometimes it's like American Express, sometimes it's like, other businesses that owns them. Like, for example, another one that you can't forget is PayPal. PayPal is definitely covered by the Financial Conduct Authority. They are entitled to pay your money back. Let's say you go to eBay and shop there, and let's say you found something and you bought it on eBay or AliExpress or anything like that, and you use your PayPal account. If you don't receive the item, or if it was fraudulent, they have to give you your money back. And sometimes it gets a bit difficult, because the person, let's say you are the seller. Yeah. It's easy for the buyer. Let's say I'm going to buy, but I never received my products. I can claim my money back. But if you are the seller, because PayPal is a buy and sell thing. It's like you can use it to buy and sell. So if you are the seller, let's say, most of the cases that I've come across that is very complex. It's like, if I'm the seller and you bought something from me, and I've sent the items to you, and then the buyer claims to PayPal that they never received the item.
Okay.
And that way they've received they've received the product.
Yes.
And they've received their money back. So when you complain to PayPal that you never received it, they're going to refund your money. So you have to be very careful with PayPal when you are a seller, because sometimes you're not as covered as the buyer. Because if you sell something and you send it off and the person received it, and then they claim that they haven't received it, there is no way you can prove to PayPal that you've actually sent it. Sometimes you can, because you can send like your the post office receipts and all that kind of stuff. Exactly.
Yes.
So make sure you keep your receipts from the post office and your communications and stuff like that. So when you are disputing any kind of thing like that, you can actually send those things to PayPal, because sometimes it's very difficult to determine.
So it means that if you cannot get your money from PayPal, then of course,
if you can't get your money from PayPal, then you might need to claim it from your bank.
Because I remember that there was a time one of my clients, she bought a car from abroad.
Yeah.
And then she sent huge sums of money. And the car was never delivered. And it was a challenge. So under the circumstances, this individual can just complain to the financial ombudsman.
Yeah.
And then you'll be refunded the fund. Wow. So viewers.
If it's a credit card, you can complain. You can claim under Section 75 because you're covered under Section 75. But if it's just a debit card, then you might just need to claim cashback from your bank. And that is definitely the bank's discretion whether or not they want to give your money back. Sometimes they will give it to you, and sometimes they don't.
And if it's PayPal, then of course the PayPal account.
PayPal has their own legal obligation to give your money back.
To refund the money.
Yeah.
As long as
they can see that.
As long as the seller cannot prove that they have delivered the product.
Yes, then it's kind of tricky there.
Well, that means there is a lot of protection for those of us who use PayPal account.
Yeah, PayPal is very safe. It's like the safest. PayPal, if you want to pay safe, it's either PayPal or your credit card. Because most of the time, debit cards are not protected. If you pay with your debit card, you might lose your money. But if you pay with your credit card and PayPal, you might get your money back. Most of the time, you get your money back.
Wow, viewers, this is interesting.
Yeah.
So, whenever you are making a purchase, especially you are buying something from China.
Yes, use PayPal or credit card. Don't use...
That might never come.
Exactly.
I remember.
You will be covered if you use your credit card or PayPal. Yeah.
I used to listen to LBC, and then there's a guy that would dance consumer hour just as we do here, and then there's a lady who bought a product from China, and it's been almost 8 months. That has not arrived.
By the time you receive it, will be old and grey.
Each time the presenter comes on the show, she calls the lady to find out whether the product have arrived from China.
They'll just send you back and forth.
So it means that this particular individual can simply contact the financial ombudsman or the PayPal. If they don't do that, then you can just contact financial ombudsman. Yeah. And they will get your refund straight away. Definitely. Wow. So is there any, let's say for example I bought something from PayPal. So I bought something, used my PayPal account to make that payment, and the product have not arrived. Is it when the seller promises that you should get this product at this particular date and I don't get it, that is when I'll be entitled to make my complaint? Or when it's taking more than it's overdue by my discretion?
Obviously, if you're expecting it, let's say the seller would have told you that they've sent it first class or something like that, and it's been a week, you haven't received it. And another way you can tell that this is fraudulent is after you've paid, all of a sudden you don't hear from the seller anymore. It's either the account has disappeared, or do you know what I mean? So basically you buy something from, let's say, eBay, and as soon as you pay, that account no longer exists from there. Then you know straight away that it was fraud. So then you can claim from PayPal, because then PayPal will know that, okay, yes, it was fraud kind of thing. Because sometimes some people are actually there. They'll put a picture as if they're selling it, but the moment you pay for it, they take your money and close the account. And so, but then the PayPal would tell that, okay, this was fraud, and they can give you your money back.
Wow.
Yeah, some people do that. But then they've received the money already anyway, so just PayPal is lost.
PayPal is lost. But they also make a lot of profit using that account.
Yes. Yeah.
So, and these are basic facts that a lot of people don't know.
Yeah.
Because most times, especially during the lockdown, there were a lot of scams where people were buying cars were being advertised, people were transferring money into accounts and not getting cars.
It. Yeah.
The cars are put there, they will go and meet them at the location. The person
no one's there. Yeah.
So they could have simply avoided losing their
If you're
money.
buying anything from online, use PayPal or credit card. Because most of the time you don't know who is on the other side, that you're buying from. And fraud is so rampant these days. Like everybody, you have to be alert or else you're going to lose major money. Some of them, the financial ombudsman can recover it. Some of them we cannot, to be honest. And there's another thing. If you feel like you fall into any of this and you want to claim that money but you don't know how to do it, you can also get a representative to do that for you. Because a lot of people...
That's when we come in.
Yes, exactly. They call it CMC, Claims Management Company, and it can also be a solicitor. So basically what you need to do is to approach the solicitor and let them know that this is what's happening with your credit cards or PayPal or, any of those products or businesses that we have mentioned. And if you feel like you're one of those people, you can always contact the solicitor, let them know, and there will be a representative, for you whilst they approach the financial numbers, because it can be tricky sometimes and it can be long-winded.
Just one of the cases that we dealt with, normally when, for example, somebody complains about fraud, what the financial ombudsman will normally do, they will send a questionnaire. Let's say you said that money has been swindled from your account. Then the financial ombudsman will normally send a questionnaire and then ask, did you disclose your PIN to someone? Did you leave your card somewhere? Did you keep your card?
And those are the same questions your bank will ask you as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Your bank will ask
and it's quite tricky because sometimes you would think that by saying that you didn't disclose your PIN at all means that you are saying that you're not
careless.
But then they will say that, well, if there was no possibility that somebody could have seen the PIN, then it means nobody stole your money.
No, but they are sure that this is the reason why now you see like banks are very tight when it comes to those kind of things. Like for example, I'm with NatWest, and they have like this biometrics thing where you have to do your facial, ID before you send money. So then if I do my facial ID and send money, I can't claim to say that somebody used it because I had to use my facial ID. So they're becoming really, really smart now, because some people intentionally would buy something and then claim it later on. So now they know that it's kind of difficult for somebody to use your online banking without, that kind of stuff now. So it's very, they're becoming very tight and very smart with this whole thing.
The biometric.
Now they're using your face ID, your fingerprint or stuff like that, just so that you can't claim to say somebody. But, there are other situations where obviously you lose your, let's say you lose your wallet and your cards were in there, and some people, the most dangerous one is the contactless. The contactless. By the time you call your bank, by the time you realize that your card's gone, they would have used it because it's just touch. So they would have used it, and then you can try and let your bank know that you lost your card and those payments were not yours. But it's very hard to prove that you didn't use that.
So under those circumstances, what can one do? Would they be entitled to refund? Or
the best thing you can do is just complain to your bank, and then the bank will actually use their discrepancies, like whether or not they believe you or not. Sometimes they don't, and there's no way you can prove it. And sometimes even if you do come to the financial ombudsman, because what we do is to get all the information, we will request a business file. We will tell the banks, okay, can you send us everything that you have about this consumer, your agreements and everything like that. But with situations like that, there's no such thing as we'll still send a file, but it depends on when you lost your wallet versus when the person used the card. But how between when you lost your wallet and when you found out if somebody used it, it's very short space.
That's why they always send these questionnaires. And it's quite tricky. That's why normally people are meant to say.
So the best thing the bank can do is just literally just close the card, and issue a new one. Basically.
Wow. That's interesting. That's a lot of stuff going on.
A lot.
Okay, I'm sure that most people will be interested as we've gone through most of the stuff now. I'm sure most people will be interested in knowing what will happen if they took these loans, they made these purchases. I have actually reserved this question almost to the end of this discussion, because I'm sure that is what people are going to be very much interested in. So if, for example, people took loans, I remember one of my friends was buying a car. She had the money. He wanted to buy cash. And then he was persuaded that buying it as a hire purchase is much better.
Yeah.
Because when you buy it on hire purchase, whoever is working at the garage will make some money.
Commission. Yeah.
Make some commission. So he was more or less persuaded that buying it on hire purchase is much better than buying it cash. And there are also times when people will go for loans when in fact they cannot afford these loans. But the creditor perhaps feels that, well, sometimes even they have even lied that they are earning this amount. The creditor fails to do any check whatsoever to check whether it is true that they are earning that amount. And then eventually they default. They cannot keep up with the payment. And then they have problem either with their credit rating. So when the banks or these creditors have not done their due diligence, and these people cannot afford to pay these loans, and they report to the bank don't do anything about it, and they come to the financial ombudsman, is there any compensation for them? And if there is, what is the quantum or the amount of compensation that they can get?
Well, it depends. It depends. Let's say if the financial ombudsman has done all their investigation and come to a conclusion above all reasonable doubt that the business did not, give you this loan, in good faith, then they would give you all your money back, including an 8% statutory interest. So they will give you your money. So let's say you took like £10,000 loan, and the business says that you didn't, the bank wasn't supposed to give that money to you in the first place, and now you're in debt. They might actually give you your money back, and then they have to add on top of that. You have to pay, then you pay all the interest. They will give you back all the interest that you paid, and on top of it, 8% statutory interest on top of that.
Wow.
Yeah. A lot of money.
Yes.
That's only if you're going to get your money back, because you don't always get your money back. Because obviously investigations are going to be made. Sometimes it's not fair on the banks, especially not everybody that's coming to the bank is coming genuinely. Yeah. So
this is quite interesting. So let me put in a layman's language. It means that if, for example, I took £50,000 loan from the bank, and I give information that were untrue, and then the bank didn't do checks whatsoever, or whatever financial institution didn't do check whatsoever, and eventually I had this loan, use it for whatever I want to use it for, and then I default, which means I'm unable to pay the loan, and then because I can't pay the loan, the bank starts writing to me. I then complain to the bank, you know what, I can't pay this loan. You knew I will not be able to pay. If you have checked my earnings, you would have known that I will not be able to pay when you give me this license of money. So I need compensation from you. The bank refuses. I go to the financial ombudsman. They checked all the files. They find out that the bank, in fact, if they have checked my earnings properly, they would have realized that I was not entitled to £50,000 loan. So in that case, all the money that I have paid, the repayment, they are going to give it back to me with the statutory 8% interest and all the charges back to me.
Not really. Okay, let's say if you come to the business and you lied, like just like you said, if you lied, and obviously they're going to know that obviously that's fraud if you're lying to the business for you to get that money. And if they also see that the business didn't do everything that's supposed, the due diligence to do the investigation.
Yes.
So basically what they would do is you would pay the £50,000.
Yeah.
But if they added interest on it, let's say you took 50,000, but you had to pay 90,000 back.
Yes.
They would knock off the interest. So you get what I'm trying to say? So they would knock off the interest. But if it's a situation where the bank was totally negligent, then they would knock off the money you owe the bank. And then they will give you the statutory interest.
Oh my God, this is one.
For all this is stress and inconvenience.
Wow, this is bingo.
And you can also claim for stress and inconvenience too.
Oh, this is bingo. This is so viewers, it means that most of you who have been struggling to pay your loans and your credit cards, you are actually entitled to compensation.
Well, it depends. It depends. It's not that easy.
If they didn't do their checks for the bank, so it means that what the banks are supposed to do is to check whether you qualify for those loans.
But sometimes you can see that they have checked.
Yes.
They have checked, so they have proof that they've checked.
Yes.
It's your word against the bank to know whether or not they've checked or not. This is the reason why we ask for, for the
evidence.
The business file, because sometimes even though you can see it, every case differs. It's not always the same outcome for. It might be a similar case, but something about your case might make your case different from somebody else's.
That's right.
So it might, everything is different depending on the case. Yeah.
Good. So it depends.
But it's still good to try because you never know where you end up.
It depends on the individual cases. So viewers, you could be entitled to. So if you took, let's say £15,000, you are meant to pay about £25,000. Checks are done. Bank didn't comply with the rules. Two things: either they knock off all the interest, and then they pay statutory interest of 8%. So you get more money back, or the whole debt is wiped out because the bank shouldn't have given you the loan at all.
Yeah. Some people will say that on their complaint form. And when you fill up your form, they ask, what do you want the business to put right? And you'll be like, I want all my money back. But that doesn't mean you're going to get it, but obviously.
Yes,
you can ask for it.
Obviously.
You can ask for it.
If the bank is at fault, if the bank loses their case, then
you can ask for
all
it.
the money back.
Yeah.
And if it's a higher purchase, then I could still be driving this lovely car, even though I couldn't pay for it.
Yeah.
Wow.
If it's a higher purchase, they might like for example, if it's let's say you volunteer surrender the car, you give it back to the finance company. Obviously, they're going to knock at how much let's say you took £5,000 and you've used the car for like whatever. They're going to remove the money from it, and then you're going to pay like what interest, or they're going to remove the interest, and then you're going to pay how much is remaining for the rest of the contract.
Yes.
But then sometimes you can also complain about that, and if the financial ombudsman sees that the business, because sometimes the finance company are doing business with crooks, the motor.
Motor agency,
the motor agency.
They actually pressurize you to
exactly.
To use
so
that
if the broker, because usually the brokers are the ones that advise you, use that motor agency, and then you use it, and usually they know that lots of people have complained about this business, but they're still pushing you over there. You can claim about that
because
as well.
Wow. Because I remember my friend when he said, "Look, I have money, I can afford it." He said, "Oh, don't pay cash. Imagine paying cash, the cash values, depreciates, you buy it on higher purchase." And obviously, he said, if I buy on higher purchase, I pay interest on it. So if the car depreciates, I lose more. But, obviously, he was self-persuading him. So in such instances, if the person obviously is not working and he can afford to pay, then of course, this is one of the clear examples that you will be receiving some form of compensation for mis-selling of the loan. Yeah. So
obviously, the purpose of this is if you're not sure where you fall under, you can always give a call to the Citilaw solicitors, and then they can actually go ahead and do that for you. So this is the purpose of it. So we might not tell you exactly where you fall, but at the end of the day, if you think you might be due a compensation.
Now, let me do a short advert. Now that you've just said that, if people don't know where to go, they can come to Citilaw Solicitors.
If anything that we have said applies to you, and you feel like maybe you want to claim, but you're not really sure how to do it, you can always go ahead and give us a call, and then we can go ahead and talk about your situation, and because we need all the information that we can get for us to approach the financial ombudsman regarding your case.
Great. So viewers and listeners, it's been a privilege hosting Rebecca Kamara all the way from Financial Ombudsman. We are here every Tuesday. We are here on Thursdays in the Tree language. So I'm going to be the one to be a guest, while Chaka will be the host.
Asking.
So that I can carry the baton.
Yeah.
Because I've been doing this consumer law. I want people to know their rights. Citilaw, Solicitors.
It's very important.
We are here to create this awareness.
Yeah, there are businesses out there that are ready to help you to get your money back. You just need to know where to go.
Yeah.
And not just banks. We're talking about council tax. We're talking about your any kind. Like loads of ombudsmen. There's housing ombudsman. There's motor ombudsman. And you can approach all of them.
Most people don't even want to. They don't even want to know. They don't want to know, but
it's very good to know. Yeah.
Yes, last time we're doing this.
There's communications ombudsman as well if you're having problems with your mobile providers. Mobile phone providers. And that's one of the issues as well, because obviously sometimes you fall into debt with these mobile phone providers as well. 023, if you have a problem with that, you can also approach the communications ombudsman, and if you don't know how to do it, we can help you.
Great.
Yeah.
So they have various ombudsmen that they even have the energy ombudsman.
Yeah, they do.
For example, you have problem with
EDF energy,
gas, and all those people. So this is what we call consumer law. So tonight we've been privileged to hear it from the horse's own mouth. We come here to talk about the law, but obviously he is the one that's been dealing with most of these cases.
Yes.
And I'm sure that we've all learned tonight. And obviously a lot of you out there who are struggling paying these loans or paying for the mortgage. One of the cases that one of my friends was dealing with, sometimes even when the bank go for repossession of the house, and it turns out that they didn't do due diligence before they give the mortgage, then of course they won't be able to repossess the house.
It's not that easy.
It's not that easy.
You have to make sure you've gone to all the remedies possible before you can.
So most of you that are getting your houses repossessed and all that, you have some right, you have some remedies. But
investment, pensions.
Yes, we have all these things that we didn't talk much about. We can't have all the time.
Yeah, we can. It's very wide.
It's very wide. I'm sure we're going to continue another time to talk about
some people with the pension pension is more of switching pension providers and stuff like that, and in the mix you're getting lost, your money's getting lost, basically things like that.
And most of these people will also be entitled to some form of compensation.
Definitely.
Yes, so there's a lot of compensation for everyone.
There's one more thing that we forgot, just in case, like if you feel like if you know that a business owed you money but they're no longer trading, you can still complain, not to the financial ombudsman, but you can complain to the FSCS.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the FSCS, the Financial Conduct Authority.
The financial scheme compensation. So you can the compensation scheme. So they will compensate you your money if the business no longer trades. So basically what they'll do is they'll contact that business and get their money. But sometimes the businesses can't give you your money back because they liquidated, like they've gone. But if they still have enough money to spread, you can still get your money back. So if you get to the financial ombudsman and we tell you that the business no longer trades, trust me, you can still go to the FSCS and get your money there, as long as the business is regulated.
As long as they are regulated. That's the point that I wanted you to mention, because
as long as it's regulated business.
If you invest your funds in a business that is not regulated, then of course you can't get your
and mostly it's pensions, and investment cases ended up going to the FSCS because those businesses are no longer trading.
This is quite interesting. So viewers, what we've learned tonight is quite interesting. That car you are driving, if you can't pay, you have to start looking into how you were persuaded to take that car finance loan. If you can't pay the loan, personal loan, you probably have to look into it, whether the bank actually did every check to ensure that you satisfy the affordability requirement. Some banks do. Sometimes there are mistakes. It's a human institution. If you want to the payday loan, probably is the easiest one that people, I'm sure, one go or whatever, they've busted. Because
Yeah, they busted. A lot of them are
compensation.
busted. Yeah.
I find it that most of our people, they don't claim some
You
of
hardly
this
see them
compensation.
anymore.
Yes.
You hardly
yes,
see them anymore.
yes,
They literally
yes.
gone bust.
Yeah. Because there were a lot of claims against them for irresponsible lending.
Yeah. And people are still claiming, even though they've gone out of, like, some of them are gone out of business, but people are still claiming.
People are still claiming, yes. So, viewers, we want to entreat you, or encourage you, if you are one of those people, you could still be entitled to compensation. Tonight we will discuss consumer law. Specifically, we've looked at how people can get compensation from all these creditors or consumer credit.
Don't let them bully you. Because they have a bully. They're afraid of the financial ombudsman.
So I'm sure that most of you probably whatever has been discussed tonight may align with some of the things that you are going through, or a friend of yours or a family member of yours is going through. Don't forget that you could be entitled to compensation, and if for whatever reason you don't have any lawyer to assist you, Citilaw Solicitors, we are here to assist in those claims. We enjoy representing clients to get some of these compensations. We do that when they bring their employment cases to us. We also do that when they bring personal injury to us. And for a long time, I've been discussing this consumer law. And now we have gotten to the stage where, after conscientizing of your right, we have now come to make you aware that we don't just discuss consumer law, but we also ensure that people, having known their right under the consumer law, can also claim compensation as well. So I'm going to thank everybody for watching us tonight. And obviously, I'm going to do a little bit of advert to let you know that this program has been proudly sponsored by Citilaw Solicitors. Citilaw Solicitors, if you are looking for us, we are in Barking. Barking is in East London. Unit 113 Barking Enterprise Center. Barking, 50 Cambridge Road, IG11 8FJ. If for whatever reason you are looking for us, you can just find us just close to the Barking station. Now, if you want to contact us, our office number is 020-3355-0782. 020-3355-0782. If for whatever reason you need legal assistance, we specialize in the following areas of law. We specialize in immigration law. Those of you who have been following it for some time know that whenever you come to us with your immigration cases, we do our utmost best to ensure that you get a positive outcome for your case. Employment law, those of you, of course, I and Rebecca discussed discrimination just last week. And then as we talked to you, we have people who are gradually. After this discussion I've had two people who have been who have had issues with disability discrimination because they've been sick for some time, they've been dismissed. I have two cases, live cases, after this discussion. So there are a lot of people out there who don't know their right. And this is why Citilaw Solicitors, we are here not just to discuss immigration, because we know that after people have resolved their immigration issues, those people will work and they might have problem with the employer. Or if you're an employer and you also need a lawyer, to be able to put checks in place, to be able to make sure that you don't fall victim to any of these claims that will be representing people to pursue you. And perhaps you also have to come and see us so that we can assist you to put all your stuff together.
That's right.
You can put your house in order so that you don't fall victim to claims. So with employment law, we represent both claimants and then respondents. If you are a company and you are having a claim against you, you want a lawyer to represent you. Citilaw Solicitors is there to help you. Family law, we are family law accredited. We are not just solicitors, we are family law accredited. So if you have a family law case, child arrangement or if you are going through divorce, you have matrimonial issues, now molestation, or that. Recently, we represent a lady who had suffered severe abuse from the other partner, and he's no longer in the house. The woman has peace of mind now.
Right.
So if you have going through any of these domestic abuse and you want a lawyer to represent you, don't go far. Citilaw Solicitors, family law accredited, will assist you. Personal injury and clinical negligence. If you ever had accident, any accident whatsoever, and it's not your fault, Citilaw Solicitors, we are here to assist you. So if you went for NHS treatment with one eye problem and then you had the other eye gone, we are here to assist you to claim huge compensation. Commercial dispute and civil litigation, we are here to assist those of you who are being pursued for debts, commercial debts. Those of you who want to go into contract, you have companies, you want to draft shareholder agreements, you have a partnership, a business you want to enter into, get partnership agreement in place so that in future, when the money starts coming, there was always going to be fight. There's always somebody who wants to say that she should get more than you. Put in place an agreement. This is why we are inviting you to come to Citilaw Solicitors so that we can assist you. Consumer law, that's why Rebecca is here tonight. So if you ever have any issue with the consumer law, any claim in terms of...
This one is very basic.
Yes.
Everyday, day-to-day thing that you deal with.
That we deal with. That's why Citilaw is one stop. Citilaw is one stop. Once you come to Citilaw, with your immigration, with your employment, with your consumer law, with your debt issues, we are here to assist you. It's like a GP, where you come with all your medical issues, and Citilaw Solicitors resolve everything for you. So it's been a privilege hosting this program tonight. And Rebecca, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
For coming. And obviously on Thursday, I will carry the baton and then translate whatever I've been discussing in key language to our favorite tree followers who have been following Citilaw with MC Chaka. So I want to thank everybody who have joined us tonight and who has also listened to the City Media Radio. I'm so grateful for you guys always being here to support the program. Without you, obviously, this program will never be a success. So I'm always full of praise and thanks for all of you who have been joining us. So we are going to say goodbye to you, but we are here on Thursday for the tree session. And that's going to be interesting because I'm going to take my time to explain everything that I've been discussed here in tree. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.